friends. Oh my. It has been over 2 months ago now that we started this, and I really am sad to see it come to an end, but also apologetic that life was a little different for me this year. And so it has taken me a long time to get to this point, but I'm excited to share what begins and ends all of my Christmas season and all of our Christmas celebrations here, and that is Jesus. So A Child is Born stamp set is what I decided to use for my final project. Sometimes I start with a religious stamp set or bundle. This year I decided to end with it. And we are going to use an unexpected product here with our with the rest of our supplies, and that is some fall designer series paper. The Gathering Together Fall DSP. I have some of the designs right here. These are their gold foils. And then on the back side, it looks a lot more fall-like. I love the early espresso pieces, the wood grain type of print there. But this one I decided was perfect for what I wanted to do for this particular card. So when I was thinking through my design, I decided I'm going to use a good old standby product, which is the Stylish Shapes dies. And I'm going to grab the 3 largest circles and line them up, space them apart evenly, and then run it through the Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine. And I've done that already so that you don't have to watch that take place here. And I have the pieces now that I got out of the cut that I made with those circles. 1 circle, plain regular circle, and then the other 2 are frames. Now on the back of this one, I added some Stampin' Dimensionals. Now this is not just your regular ordinary Stampin' Dimensional. This is the outside edge of the minis, and it could be the outside edge of either. And I just cut a couple strips and wrapped it around my circle. And then for this one now, I am actually going to go to our adhesive foam strips or foam adhesive strips. And that is because, did you know that the foam adhesive strips have just a little bit bigger loft than the regular dimensionals? So we're using here something that will raise up the largest ring on this card a little bit higher than the rest. So we're going to have kind of a telescoping effect that leads us to baby Jesus. So it's got kind of a meaning that you wouldn't expect out of it. All right, so I just wrapped that all the way around. And now we do need to stamp. So we've got our Mary, Joseph, and Jesus stamp here from the stamp set. And I'm going to bring in my card base, which is basic beige. And I've cut it 4 1/4 by 11. I'm just going to give it a good score there. And then eventually I'm going to adhere this piece on. And then we'll do our circles, and I'm just going to lay them in here right now so you can kind of see what I'm getting at. And then in the middle, we've got that circle. So essentially, I want to mark where that circle would land, okay? And this will all make sense shortly, I promise. But we're gonna, I'm just going to use my pencil, and I'm gonna mark the outsides and the top and bottom here with my pencil. And then I can see where I want to do that stamping. Now we're just going to do tone on tone. This is a very, I was toying with gold, but I didn't really want it that bold. I wanted it to be very subtle and beautiful. And so I am just doing tone on tone here, making sure that Jesus makes it inside our circle. Okay, now when I add the pieces back into place, these are going to telescope in to the baby Jesus. All right, so let's see what we can do here. Let's start with this piece. Just gonna add some glue. Put that into place. Liquid glue allows us to shimmy it a little bit. And then before I lay this in place, I want to find out where it goes with the pattern of the DSP. So I think I found it. And we're going to add that next. So we want to get all of those lines lined up right back into place. And I can see I need to shift it a little bit up, but I don't want to mess with the lines. Okay, I think that looks pretty good. So I'm going to adhere that down, and now we're going to go with this next ring. Should have made sure I knew where it goes, which I didn't, but we'll get it. Okay, you want to get that right in there, getting your lines all lined up. And then, like I said, those dimensionals, the regular dimensionals, are slightly, oh no, I'm a little bit off. The regular dimensionals are slightly smaller than the rest. You know, shorter, not the rest, slightly shorter than our adhesive strips. So it telescopes in just a little bit to capture the baby Jesus. I just think that's so pretty. And then adding our basic beige ribbon, which comes from the Beautiful Gallery Suite collection. I believe it is in the, actually it's the annual catalog, which we don't talk about too often, but I love that it comes from there. And then I'm going to do a bow over here on the side. And finally, I have also, from the Stylish Shapes dies, cut a banner. So we're going to add the sentiment on there. And I decided for my sentiment that I wanted, oh, come let us adore him. So again, tone on tone, adding the sentiment to the banner. And like I said, if you wanted, you could certainly glitz it up a little with some gold embossing. I chose not to do that. And then I'm going to add a couple of Stampin' Dimensionals. And then we'll add that down here at the bottom. And actually, I should have known this. I should have put a couple strips across the top and bottom edge, because otherwise it's just going to sit on top of the ribbon and move with the ribbon and not stabilize the ribbon. So we'll cut a couple of strips. Now remember to cut the strips from the same loft, the same dimensional sheet, so that you don't have more loft on one than the other. And then just for a little bit of sparkle, just a little, we're gonna grab our traditional sparkling sequins, which at this point are on the last chance list for only $7.20. And we're just going to add a couple of them to add a little glitz and glimmer. I got to decide where I want them though. There we go. A little bit better. All right, so there is project number 12. My goodness, we have had some beautiful projects. Loved sharing with you as always, and thank you for watching. I just really appreciate you, and have a blessed Christmas.